I think we all know that there's a lot of problems over at the Department of Children and Family Services, and I'd like to focus on one of them today. The Family First Prevention Services Act was passed back several years ago, and Illinois' application to participate in that plan was also approved several years ago. What the Family First program does is it allocates federal funds under Title 4E of the Social Security Act to provide services to families who are in need of things that might ultimately result in the family devolving into a situation where we end up with abuse and neglect of children. The act was never meant for it to be done or administered by an agency that already has those kids in its care. The way the act was written, a state could apply for the services under a variety of agencies, depending on the service that was going to be given. For instance, I just heard a story this morning about a gentleman who couldn't get a hot water heater because he couldn't afford it. Somebody called DCFS. His kids ended up in care, all for the want of a water heater. That's not the intent of this law. And I also found out today that even though Illinois' plan has been approved for several years, and it's completely administered by DCFS, which means that nobody qualifies for Family First programs unless they have a case in DCFS. Somebody has shown up at the door and started an investigation. But come to find out, that wasn't the way it was supposed to be done. It was supposed to be a broad range of agencies that didn't necessarily result in children being put in care before families could get this sort of thing. And I also found out today that the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services has not yet published its application for us to see. They had got it approved, but we can't see it. It's long past time for the department to get back to its core function of helping kids in care, not engage in mission creep, acting upon its own initiative to take on responsibilities that it's not its own. I'm calling upon the department today to release the application it made to the federal government for the administration of Families First. It's long past time for us in this room to look at that application and see if there's a better way for these services to be provided without a hotline call to the Department of Children and Family Services. This plan was meant for them to be kept out of DCFS's clutches, not within. So I'm asking the members of this body, please, put the pressure on DCFS. Let's see that application. Let's see how they did. Let's see what they did to make this entirely within their own control. It's wrong. And these services are not being provided except when there's a case that is in front of them. That's not the way this is meant to be. These services were meant to be provided before we got to the point of them having to be in DCFS care. Mr. Speaker, this is something that we have got to get fixed, and we've got to get fixed fast. The last Inspector General report had 172 dead kid reports in it. This is long past time of getting fixed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.